it's kind of crazy how the average YouTuber is damage controlling the Palworld situation. You have guys coming out and trying to say that, like, oh, they almost got 1 million players with 1.0, which is half the amount it got in early access, right? And it's dropping all the time. It's very clearly dropping every day. And yet we're still in this weird phase where people think this is going to beat Pokemon. This is going to be a cultural phenomenon. This is going to be the next big thing. And it was just never going to happen. But what's really strange is just how the YouTube community is moving in lockstep to try and push this idea that Palworld is this huge success. And I do think, like, it's pretty much only the YouTube Grift community that's doing it. It's people like Asmongold, Clownfish TV, Endymion TV, like a handful of other people, like Fratanga. Like, there's a lot of other people. There's a lot of people coming out saying that, like, Nintendo lost the lawsuit, that Palworld's better than Pokemon, and that, like, Nintendo's days are numbered. I even saw some weirdo come out and say that, like, Palworld was going to do better with the TCG than Pokemon. Like, oh, they've already sold 3.5 million cards. It was just like a figure that was shipped to retailers. For comparison's sake, Pokemon ships like 10 billion cards a year. So Palworld has a long way to go before it would even, like, scratch those numbers. But, like, we're just in this weird, like, situation now where people are, like, blindly believing these YouTubers and these clickbait headlines and are, like, vastly misrepresenting, like, the actual situation. Like, what we're seeing is a complete misrepresentation of what's going on in the community. Everybody is bending over backwards to push the narrative that Nintendo has failed, that the Pokemon Company has been embarrassed, that the lawsuit has already been dismissed when the court case will not be resolved until October, right? Like, you just have all these people acting like they've had some huge epic W, and it just isn't really true. I went on YouTube today looking at, like, the numbers. I was looking at, like, the YouTubers covering the game and, like, how many views they were getting, and it's like, it's very self-evident if you do that just how much more popular Pokemon is than Palworld right now. And there's not even really, like, a major Pokemon product out, but, like, I was looking and I saw that, like, Pokemon related media was getting way more attention than Palworld related media. Like, and again, that's just very obvious simply by looking at the trends, looking at the numbers, looking at, like, the tweet and retweet thing. I saw Fratanga try and say that Palworld tweets were getting more attention than Pokemon tweets. So I went ahead and, like, compared the two, and yeah, that wasn't true. It was a lie. That's just that's the issue. That's what we're dealing with here. Honestly, is that we're dealing with people who are brazenly, blatantly lying about the state of Palworld. Like, they are just blindly believing the numbers that they have been told without really fact-checking them or asking where they come from. Like, the 40 million player count total is coming straight from Palworld. And you have people, like, saying that, like, that's bigger and better than any Pokemon release when they don't understand what 40 million players actually means. It's not the same thing as 40 million sales. Okay? Like, it's remarkable how, like, we've gone through this, like, weird smokescreen of people just trying to gaslight you into thinking this game is, like, some major success, and it just hasn't been panning out. Like, not at all. It's been very, very ridiculous, very, very sad, and it is, I think, going to reach its natural conclusion once the player counts drop. And this is the thing that bothers me about this, and I know I've said this before. I've released statements, like, attesting this before, but, like, Steam player counts mean absolutely nothing. Okay, I am tired of acting like Steam is, like, the end-all, be-all when it comes to, like, how successful a game is. Because we've seen time and time again that the Steam audience primarily rallies around meme games. They primarily rally around piracy. They primarily hype up nonsense. Okay, the PC master race is just a bunch of plebs who don't know, who don't understand how much better Nintendo software and hardware actually is. And they'll go to any lengths to prop up whatever knockoff product they can come up with, whether it's like Wargroove or Shovel Knight or Hollow Knight or any of this slop. Like, again, it's kind of remarkable, like, how far they'll go to push their nonsense. And what we're seeing now is that we're increasingly seeing more people just start to question the statistics, start to question the narrative, because we've been told for years that PC is actually secretly the most lucrative gaming platform. But if you look into it a little bit, that basically just amounts to like microtransactions and like gambling and stuff like that. Like when it comes to like actual dedicated hardware and software, nobody does better than Nintendo, and nobody has in a very, very long time. But we're still going through this like weird song and dance where people seriously, genuinely believe like something like Pokemon can just be replaced by some random PC knockoff, and it just isn't going to happen. It just isn't going to be happen. And I do think this is like the main takeaway here, is that this is the big game on Steam. This is the big dog. This is what like the community rallied behind for 3 years. This is what they thought was going to kill Pokemon, and it's just not going to happen. Like, that's just the simple reality of it, that in spite of all the glazing, in spite of all the worship, in spite of all the coverage, all like the attention, like the reality is this thing has fallen flat on its face, and it's never, ever going to get back up. Like, it is, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. They're like hitting the life alert button. They're hoping their fanboys will come bail them out, and just nobody's coming, you know, like nobody's coming to save them. That's just the reality of where we're at right now, is that we're seeing like the beginning of people like accepting that Palworld is done. Like we are in the denial phase where the fan base does not want to admit that it's over, that the game has had its shot. You know, it had like 1.0 came out, that this was supposed to be what was going to salvage the game, and it didn't salvage jack shit. Okay, like it is going to be a long, hard, quick decline going forward. They're never going to have another hit like this again. They're never going to be able to grift off of Nintendo. Hopefully, Nintendo is able to like better protect their brands going forward, because you know, things the mechanics they patented are indeed mechanics exclusive to Pokemon and should only be used in Pokemon. What we're seeing now, I think, is just the end of an era. You know, the end of companies like Palworld just being put on a pedestal. Like, things like this will simply not be allowed to happen in the future. And I could not be more happy to see that be the case.